Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation on human physiology. This is our first slide, which is the cover slide, so I want to warmly welcome you all. Today, we'll explore the fascinating functions of the human body and how it works together seamlessly. We'll cover key systems, their roles, and some interesting insights along the way. Let's get started and dive into the amazing world of human physiology. Today, we're focusing on disorders of the digestive system, and specifically, we're going to walk through the process of digestion of food. We'll look at how our bodies break down what we eat and how nutrients are absorbed. This is a crucial part of understanding how our digestive system supports overall health. We'll also cover how the digested products are absorbed into our bloodstream and utilized by our bodies. All of this is part of Chapter 16, which ties together the entire process from ingestion to absorption. Understanding these key steps helps us appreciate the complexity and efficiency of our digestive system, and it sets the stage for recognizing common disorders that can interfere with these processes. So, let's dive into how food is digested and prepared for absorption. Now, let's explore the fascinating adaptations of the cells lining the villi in the small intestine. These cells produce numerous tiny projections called microvilli, which give the border a brush-like appearance. These modifications are crucial because they greatly increase the surface area, making absorption of nutrients much more efficient. The villi themselves are supplied with a network of capillaries, which absorb most nutrients directly into the bloodstream, and a large lymph vessel called the lacteal, which is responsible for absorbing fats. Additionally, the mucosal epithelium contains goblet cells that secrete mucus. This mucus plays an important role in lubricating the intestinal lining, facilitating smooth passage of food, and protecting the epithelium from digestive enzymes and mechanical damage. In the stomach, the mucosa forms specialized glands known as gastric glands, which secrete gastric juices. In the intestine, between the bases of the villi, we find crypts of Lieberkühn. These are glandular structures that also contribute to secretion and renewal of the epithelium. It's important to note that all four layers of the alimentary canal, the serosa, muscularis, submucosa, and mucosa, show specific modifications depending on the part of the digestive tract. For example, the stomach has folds called rugae, and the small intestine features villi, both increasing surface area for absorption. When we look at the teeth, humans have a total of 32 permanent teeth, classified into 4 types: molars, premolars, canines, and incisors. These are part of our heterodont dentition, meaning different types of teeth serve different functions, like cutting, tearing, or grinding food. Focusing on the small intestine, it's divided into 3 main regions: the duodenum, which is U-shaped, the jejunum, which is long and coiled, and the ileum, which is highly coiled as well. The stomach connects to the duodenum via the pyloric sphincter, which controls the flow of chyme. The ileum then leads into the large intestine, which includes the cecum, colon, and rectum. The cecum is a small pouch that hosts some beneficial microorganisms, and from it the appendix extends, a vestigial organ. The colon is divided into ascending, transverse, and descending parts, ending at the rectum, which opens out through the anus. The stomach itself has 3 major parts: the cardiac region where the esophagus opens, the fundic region, and the pyloric portion that connects to the duodenum. The tongue is a muscular organ attached at the floor of the oral cavity, with small projections called papillae on its surface, some of which contain taste buds. The oral cavity leads into the pharynx, a shared passage for food and air, with the epiglottis acting as a flap to prevent food from entering the windpipe during swallowing. The esophagus is a long, narrow tube passing through the neck, chest, and diaphragm, ending in the stomach. Its opening is regulated by the gastroesophageal sphincter, ensuring that food moves in one direction. The teeth, made of enamel, are designed for mastication. Their arrangement in each half of the jaw follows the formula I-C-P-M-M, which helps us understand their specific positions. Humans develop 2 sets of teeth during their lives: milk teeth and permanent teeth, a pattern called diffeodont dentition. The entire alimentary canal begins at the mouth and ends at the anus, with the mouth leading into the buccal cavity, where the teeth and tongue are located. Each tooth is embedded in a socket of the jaw bone, a type of attachment called the thecodont. Finally, the human digestive system, composed of the alimentary canal and associated glands, functions to convert complex food substances into simple, absorbable forms through a process called digestion, carried out both mechanically and biochemically. This process is essential for our nutrition and overall health. The bile duct and the pancreatic duct open together into the duodenum as a single structure called the common hepatopancreatic duct. This duct is protected by a sphincter known as the sphincter of Oddi, which regulates the flow of bile and pancreatic juices into the intestine. The pancreas itself is a fascinating organ because it serves both exocrine and endocrine functions. It's elongated and located between the limbs of the U-shaped duodenum. The exocrine part of the pancreas secretes an alkaline pancreatic juice that contains various enzymes essential for digestion. Meanwhile, the endocrine part produces important hormones like insulin and glucagon, which help regulate blood sugar levels. Now, regarding bile, it's secreted by the hepatic cells, passes through the hepatic ducts, and is stored and concentrated in the gallbladder, which is a small muscular sac. The duct that connects the gallbladder to the hepatic duct is called the cystic duct. When combined with the hepatic duct, it forms the common bile duct, which carries bile to the duodenum. Let's talk about the liver, because it's the largest gland in the body, weighing between 1.2 to 1.5 kilograms in adults. It's located right below the diaphragm in the abdominal cavity and has two main lobes. The functional units of the liver are called hepatic lobules. These lobules contain hepatic cells arranged in cords, and each lobule is covered by a thin connective tissue layer known as Glissen's capsule. Finally, I want to touch on the digestive glands associated with the alimentary canal. These include the salivary glands, the liver, and the pancreas. Saliva, for example, is mainly produced by three pairs of salivary glands: the parotids near the cheeks, the submandibular or submaxillary glands near the lower jaw, and the sublingual glands located below the tongue. These glands are situated just outside the buccal cavity and secrete saliva into the mouth, which plays a crucial role in the initial stages of digestion. The activities of the gastrointestinal tract are intricately controlled by both neural and hormonal mechanisms to ensure proper coordination of different parts. For example, the sight, smell, or even the presence of food in the oral cavity can stimulate saliva secretion. This is part of the body's preparatory response to digestion. Muscular activities throughout the alimentary canal are also regulated by neural pathways, both local reflexes and through the central nervous system, or CNS. Hormonal control plays a crucial role too, especially in regulating the secretion of digestive juices. These hormones are produced locally by the gastric and intestinal mucosa and help fine-tune the digestion process. Once digestion has occurred, the undigested and unabsorbed substances are passed into the large intestine. These substances, known as feces, enter the large intestine through the ileocecal valve, which acts as a one-way gate to prevent backflow. The feces are then temporarily stored in the rectum until the time for defecation. Moving on to carbohydrate digestion, sucrose is broken down by the enzyme sucrase into glucose and fructose, while lactose is split by lactase into glucose and galactose. Similarly, starch is hydrolyzed by pancreatic amylase into disaccharides like maltose, which are further broken down by enzymes such as maltase into simple sugars. These final products are absorbed in the jejunum and ileum. Fats are broken down by lipases with the help of bile into diglycerides and monoglycerides, which are easier for the body to absorb. Proteins and protoses are acted upon by enzymes like trypsin and chymotrypsin, converting them into peptides and eventually into amino acids. Nucleic acids are broken down by nucleases into nucleotides and nucleosides. The bile, released into the duodenum, contains no enzymes but plays a vital role in emulsifying fats, breaking them into tiny micelles and activating lipases. The intestinal mucosa secretes mucus and enzymes like maltase, dipeptidases, lipases, and nucleosidases, which aid in digestion and protect the mucosa from acid damage. The pancreas secretes inactive enzymes like trypsinogen, which are activated in the intestine by enterokinase, ensuring that digestion occurs in the right place and time. The stomach stores food for several hours, mixing it thoroughly with gastric juice, which contains hydrochloric acid and the enzyme pepsinogen. When activated by HCl, pepsinogen becomes pepsin, which starts digesting proteins into smaller peptides. In infants, renin helps digest milk proteins. The gastric glands in the stomach contain different cell types, including mucus-secreting cells to protect the lining and pepsinogen-secreting cells for protein digestion. Finally, in the oral cavity, digestion begins with salivary amylase breaking down starch into maltose. Saliva also contains lysozyme, which helps prevent infections. The process of digestion involves both mechanical actions, like mastication and swallowing, and chemical reactions driven by enzymes. The bolus of food is pushed down the esophagus by peristalsis, controlled by the gastroesophageal sphincter, into the stomach where it is further processed into chyme. This complex but well-orchestrated system ensures that nutrients are broken down efficiently and absorbed properly, supporting the overall health and functioning of the body. Now, once the nutrients are absorbed, they finally reach the tissues where they are used for various activities. This process is called assimilation. It's essentially how our body utilizes the nutrients it has taken in. Digestion, or the removal of waste in the form of feces through the anal opening, is called defecation. And interestingly, this is a voluntary process that occurs through a mass peristaltic movement in the intestines. Most absorption takes place in the small intestine, which is perfectly designed for this task. The transport of water, for example, depends on the osmotic gradient, meaning water moves from an area of lower solute concentration to higher concentration. When it comes to nutrients like amino acids, glucose, and electrolytes like sodium, active transport is key. This process requires energy because these nutrients are moved against their concentration gradient into the bloodstream. Now, fats and glycerol are a bit different. They're insoluble, so they can't be absorbed directly into the blood. Instead, they're first incorporated into tiny droplets called micelles, which facilitate their movement into the intestinal mucosa. Once inside, these fats are reassembled into small protein-coated fat globules called chylomicrons. These are then transported into lymph vessels, known as lacteals, located in the villi of the small intestine. Eventually, these lymph vessels release the absorbed fats into our bloodstream. To sum up, absorption is how the end products of digestion pass through the intestinal lining into the blood or lymph. This process can happen via passive, active, or facilitated transport mechanisms. For example, simple diffusion allows small amounts of sugars like glucose, amino acids, and some electrolytes such as chloride to be absorbed based on concentration gradients alone. However, some substances like fructose and certain amino acids require a bit of help. This is where facilitated transport comes in. They rely on carrier ions like sodium to help them cross into the bloodstream efficiently. This mechanism ensures that nutrients are absorbed in the most effective way possible, supporting our overall health and energy needs. Now, let's look at some common disorders of the digestive system. First up is indigestion. This occurs when food isn't properly digested, leading to a feeling of fullness or discomfort. The main causes include inadequate enzyme secretion, which hampers digestion, as well as factors like anxiety, food poisoning, overeating, and spicy foods. Next is constipation, where the stool is retained in the rectum because bowel movements happen irregularly or are infrequent. This can cause significant discomfort and is often linked to diet or lifestyle habits. Then we have diarrhea, which is characterized by an increased frequency of bowel movements and looser, more liquid stool. This condition reduces the body's ability to absorb nutrients effectively, which can lead to dehydration if it persists. Moving on to vomiting, which is the forceful ejection of stomach contents through the mouth. This reflex is controlled by the vomit center located in the medulla of the brain. Usually, before vomiting, there's a sensation of nausea that signals the body to prepare. Now let's talk about jaundice. This condition indicates that the liver is affected, often due to liver diseases. It causes a yellowing of the skin and eyes, which occurs because of the deposits of bile pigments. Lastly, there's inflammation of the intestinal tract, commonly caused by bacterial or viral infections. These infections can also be due to parasites like tapeworms, threadworms, hookworms, and pinworms. Such parasitic infestations can seriously disrupt normal digestive functions. Understanding these disorders helps us appreciate how vital a healthy digestive system is and how various factors can interfere with it.